It's slime time! What's up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, dogs and cats, all the fish in the sea, and all the furniture in the house? It is I, your grumpy guide to all the tabletop role playing game news, weather, and general internet nonsense. It is the handsome face of the OGGM. It is time to take a look at the latest installment from the Wretched Minion Factory Slimes, my magnum opus, so to speak. Because slime is where this all started. Or if you remember, if we go all the way back to when I first started publishing stuff, it was the first thing I published was Wretched Minion Slime, right? Of course, back then it was just called Minions on a Mission or Minion of the Day, but it was slime. And you guys know I love slime. I love dungeon slime. It's the ultimate encounter because you don't have to explain it. Every other monster, you got to explain why it's there. Where did those zombies come from? I guess there's a graveyard. Where are those orcs going to the bathroom and eating? I guess I got to put that in. Slime, I don't have to explain how it got there. It's slime. It's there. Fungus is just there. Mold is just there. The interesting thing with, doing these minion beast things is I've tried to research them. I believe you saw me do a video a couple days ago about the U.S. Library of Congress. So anytime I enter something that's even vaguely connected to the real world, I look it up. I look it up to see what it could do. So, if I'm looking up bears for beasts, the bestiary, I'll look up the different types of bears. I looked up all the different types of reptiles. I looked up all the different types of insects. When I did the cryptid one, which should be coming out in a few days, I looked up all the different, urban myths. So instead of just saying, okay, I'm just going to randomly toss out things, I actually researched what kind of killer plants and killer fungus and killer slime are out there, and while there isn't really anything in the real world that is the equivalent to green slime, fungus, on the other hand, is pretty frightening. Like nightmare fuel frightening. Like I'm sure most of you are aware of the cultural phenomenon that is The Last of Us and the fungus zombies in The Last of Us. Okay, that's a real thing. They didn't make that up. All right. Right now, the fungus in question doesn't affect humans. It affects lower life forms like insects. But who's to say, a little radiation, a little evolution, like that. Also, there's a fungus that the CDC has to post a warning of every year, and on average kills like 1 million people a year. Plus there's like black fungus, which is still a thing. So, and there's killer mushrooms. So yeah, fungus and slime is scary. Now I could have made a lot of slime, other than just the typical RGB, red, green, blue, indigo, and I could have done all the colors. But when you think about it, there's only so many things slime can do. Slime is a mobile trap, right? It's how do I move the pit trap to them? Or slime is a way to get rid of things from player characters. Those magic items are really bothering me. I'm going to make a slime that eats magic items. All those guys in plate mail that are killing my monsters, they're really bothering me. I'm going to create a slime that eats armor, right? So was the thinking that was going into Wretched Slime. Now, I made a lot more art for this. I don't know why Miguel didn't use it. So let's take a look at Wretched Slime. Including, of course, why do I love slime? And, we have already gone over why I love slime. It doesn't need to drink or go to the bathroom or sleep. It, supplies its own food source. You don't have to pay it. It never talks back. I mean, sure, you can't tell it to do anything because, it's a slime. But, you just put it in a hallway and say, go clean. And the slime will just slowly clean the hallway and consume whatever's in front of it. You don't have to worry about it as long as you remember it's in the hallway. So, you have to come up with the standard features of the slime. What is the standard feature of the slime? Okay, it's this is amorphous blob, right? So there's certain things that just aren't going to affect it. Like you can't intimidate an amorphous blob. You can't charm a fungus. You can't convince a tree to let you into the dungeon. So these are all things that a slime wouldn't be affected by. Fire, on the other hand, Most of them take extra damage. So we've got the different types of slime based upon colors and based upon what they do. You know, we got the acid slime, the fire slime, the stealthy slime, the really stealthy slime. Have I ever told you guys my invisible stalker story? Like the one time in the history of gaming I actually scared 2 players was they were going through a dungeon and they were camped out in a room and there was a translucent slime on the floor. So 100% blended in with the floor. And it was just slowly moving across the floor to get out through the crack in the door. So, you know, they would look down and I would describe how it looked like the floor was slowly moving and they got totally freaked out. They built it up so much more in their mind. And like, you know, somehow they became afraid of what was going to happen to their characters. So that's one of those moments where fear actually worked, right? We got the snow slime. We got, of course, the infamous slime that drips down on the ceiling. We've got the poisonous slime. We've got the slime that carries diseases. We've got our gelatinous cube. We can't call it gelatinous cube, but we did call it the yellow slime. We've got the slime that, you know, with the tendrils that come down. Slime that looks like dirt. My favorite is the necrotic slime. That's the slime that every time it kills something, somehow it generates a zombie. There's a chance that if it kills a bear, it randomly just makes a zombie bear. And then the zombie bear just sort of wanders around. It, of course, doesn't control the things it animates. It just, for some reason, has a side effect of animating things. And I thought it would be funny to, you know, have a slime slowly moving down the hallway, being followed by 2 or 3 slow-moving zombies that are slowly dropping their body parts. And then the slime goes back to eat the dropped body parts. I never got to use that scene. We have pink slime, because we got to do every slime. We got to do every color. Gray. We got my another one I really liked is the violent slime, which is basically a slime that has things stuck to it, like swords and stuff, because it produces like a natural glue. So that's another image, you know. With the slimes, a lot of it was just like, what is the image of the slime? What does it convey? Fear? Does it convey this is a moving trap? Is there something funny about it? Or, you know, there's something. So I liked this image of this sort of this, you know, greenish reddish slime, kind of just, you know, again, moving through the hallway, but there's just random things stuck to it. Because, you know, one player is going to try and get that one sword that's stuck to the violent slime. And then the player gets end up getting stuck. And then the slime is slowly dragging that. I don't know. It's another image that I loved in my head. I never got to play it out, but you never know. We got a slime that when you cut it in half, it becomes 2 new slimes because you got to have that. We got the plague slime. Of course, we got to have the tentacle beast, right? Tentacle Sama. You can't do a book about slimes without, of course, including tentacle beast. Tentacle beast falls into the category of slime. And then because everybody asked for it, Tentacle Cow again shows up in this one because you guys, I think Tentacle Cow has sort of become the unofficial mascot of the Wretched Beastery. So now I've got to figure out a way to fit Tentacle Cow in each and every product I do from now on. Somehow Tentacle Cow is going to show up. You just got to try and figure out where in the product Tentacle Cow is. And then, of course, we got the undead slime, which makes no sense, but we got undead slime. We got phantom slime because Ben Affleck was a mother bomb in Phantoms. We got the doppelganger. I decided the doppelganger was a slime. You know, the doppelganger on its own doesn't really have an innate shape. It just sees something and copies that. Or you could also say this is how I explain mimics without actually using the word mimic. Basically, it's a slime that copies things. Then we've got some of the slimes from previous Wretched products. These are mostly from Wretched Space and Wretched Darkness, reprinted for your enjoyment. And again, you can use these in any tabletop role-playing setting that uses OSR. You know, these don't have to be Wretched. The Waffle Room, which was suggested by the people in the Red Room, specifically Sylvia. So we have a waffle slime, which is basically a sort of orangish slime that produces a sticky, sweet-smelling sap. Because when I was listing off slime types, somebody said waffle slime. And you got to have the kaiju slime, of course, based upon the classic horror film, The Blob. Did you know? Here's some more nightmare fuel for you. The material that is used to make milkshakes at McDonald's is the same material they used to make the Blob in the 1990 horror classic, The Blob, and the original 1950s, The Blob. So every time you drink a McDonald's milkshake, you are drinking The Blob. Think about that. Maybe that explains why the ice cream machine never works. Then I moved on to fungus. And of course, this is where we got into the, oh my God, that actually exists. So the name of the fungus is cordyceps, C-O-R-D-Y-C-E-P-S. This actually exists. It is a fungus. So the scenarios in The Last of Us are technically possible. Again, the CDC says they don't see it jumping from animals to people, but I don't know. You know, one of those insects gets somehow into Chernobyl and gets exposed to radiation. One of those insects is wandering around and, you know, gets exposed to some green goo in the sewers. You know, I mean, one of the funguses evolves and goes, "Hey, those humans look way more tasty." I mean, is it possible the Last of Us zombie apocalypse could happen? Because unlike some of the other stuff in these TV shows, this is real. This is a real thing. There is a zombie fungus out there. Just think about that for a moment. I did not make that up. All The Last of Us did was take a real thing and take it to the next illogical step and go, well, what if it affected humans? So then I have to put the information about the fungus and how it affects player characters. And then, of course, you know, once the player characters gets infected enough that they become the ghouls, as we see in the video game, in the movie. And we got other types of fungus, heat-eating fungus, cold-eating fungus, disease-spreading fungus, poison fungus. Here we have some more information about this deadly fungus. This is where was this? Was this year? This is 2021. There's been resulted in 30 deaths so far of this fungus that is spreading across America. It is immune to antitoxins. So they can't kill this fungus yet, other than fire. So here's this fire. It's been spreading around. It's called C. aureus, C.AURIS. There have been 30 cases since 2019 to currently so far. There is no known way to kill this fungus other than fire. Think about that. Think about that. That's a real thing. That's out there. Then we're going to move on to mushrooms, of course, and all the mushrooms are based upon Mario because I had to. So we got the blue mushroom, the red mushroom, the glowing mushroom, giant kaiju mushroom. The largest living creature on Earth is a mushroom. Did you know that? Though there's some argument because apparently there's a tree that's now also considered the largest living thing. So there's some debate, but in the mountains of Oregon, there is a fungus, a mushroom that is 965 hectaacres or 2,384 acres large. 2,384 acres. Now, how big is an acre? I don't know, but it's pretty big. So imagine a mushroom in Oregon that is 2,384 acres. How big is an acre? 1 acre is 4,046 square meters. So yeah, 4,400 services. That's a lot. That's a lot. It's pretty big, and it's a real thing. And the main threat of this fungus, this mushroom, is of course not that it eats people, but that it is, you know, huge, and that huge starts infecting infrastructure. You know, couple of 1,000 pounds of mushroom starts butting up against pipes or electrical wiring or anything else that's underground. the fungus is going to win. Sooner or later, it's going to break through that concrete. Sooner or later, it's going to worm its way into the pipes. Sooner or later, it's going to start destroying wires. And because 90% of the mushroom is underground, Oregon's like, well, I don't know what to do with it. Now, there's also a tree that's recently been discovered that apparently this entire valley is actually the root system of this tree. So now there's some argument whether this mushroom is the largest living creature in the world or that tree is the largest living creature in the world. So the next time somebody says, oh, what's the largest living creature on Earth? And you know everybody's going to go, gray whale, gray whale. You can go, actually, it's a mushroom that lives in Oregon. Of course, I move on to edible fungus and how much they're worse, which, of course, I have to remind you guys that none of this is scientifically accurate or proven. So please do not step out your door, see a mushroom growing and go, I'm going to eat this and it's going to give me super strength because the OG GM said so. No, do not eat those anything in your garden unless you know what it is. Please consult somebody far smarter than myself. And again, we got to have the little nods to Mario. So we've got healing mushrooms. We got the hallucinogenic mushroom, again, a real thing. We got the size change mushroom from Alice in Wonderland. We got the one that gives you dragon breath because of Mario. We got Black Stygian. There's this, a nod to classic pulp thing. And the legendary mushroom of longevity, which is another nod to classic pulp. Then we did plants. Got to move on to plants. And with these, so we got the phyto zombies again. They showed up and when we did Wretched Undead, and they showed up again. These are based upon a monster from the Z Nation, which is kind of the moss version of the Last of Us, but this is not based upon something real. You got to have, the giant fly trapper, feed me, Seymour, the giant picture plant, and, got to have the corpse flower in there. The corpse flower, again, a real thing, not made up. There was one on display in San Francisco. This thing blooms 3 days out of the year. It is unbelievably beautiful. People say when you see it up close, it's like 3 meters tall, and it smells like rotting flesh. It is, and people line up and pay hundreds of dollars to see this thing the 3 days out of the year that it spawns in that greenhouse in San Francisco. And it's like, look at me, I'm beautiful. Look at me, I'm surrounded by carrion and flies and stuff. Look at me, I smell worse than a rotting dead body. And then the 3 days pass, and you go, blah, 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 blah. There are time lapses of the cycle that you can find online. It's such a weird thing. Oh, here's DM Kurt talking about the mushroom. Has a footprint of a small town. Well, DM Kurt, don't you live in Oregon? How close are you to where is it? The Blue Mountains. It is in the Blue Mountains of Oregon. Last known measurement was at 2,384 acres. So since Mr. Kurt here, our good friend DM Kurt, lives in Oregon, we can just ask him how close he is to those mountains and maybe send him out for a field trip. Take a picture of it for us. I don't know where he lives in relation to the Blue Mountains of Oregon, but he lives in Oregon. And I assume, like everything else in the world, it's within walking distance. And if you live anywhere near San Francisco and you ever want to check out this bizarre flower, the corpse flower, it's there, at least. Moving on, we got some other, classic moss from fantasy and sci-fi and horror. Got to throw in the plant from, what's the one with the plant that kills everybody? Oh, well, it turns them into pod people. The nurse is a pod. You know what I'm talking about, right? For some reason, I can't remember the name of the movie. Then we got, of course, have the moss monster and the awakened tree and the grandfather tree, because I can't use the word ent, but that's in there too. And then finally, long last, I present some information on the infamous half carrot. You know, you've heard me talk about it time and time again. Half elf, half carrot, half DM Kurt, half carrot, but you've never seen the stats for it. So here is a hint of what this half carrot is with a song about the half carrot. Yes, because, you know, so if you pick this up, you can see a song about the half carrot, which is loosely based upon the Man with the Golden Gun song from James Bond. It's gotta have slime folk, because, you know, slime girls are huge in anime, and mushroom folk. Then we got to have our two major slime NPCs dating back to where this all started. King Slime. Yes, King Slime is back. There he is. Our original mascot for when this thing all started 2 years ago, when I was doing these, you know, self-publishing and then putting them on Big Geek. And remember, this was our original mascot. We did the King Slime. We did the King Slime comics. We did the Slime of the Week recipes from Steve Spangler's. So yeah, he's back. And his sister, Princess Pudding, is back. And then I included the build your own slime table. So here you can just randomly create some slime. And here's 20 different things you can have the slime do. We get the rules for being swallowed whole, being engulfed, how big the fungus is, spores, and then not too bad. This one was only 14 references that I had to look up. Most of them, of course, was looking up the fungus and the killer plants. I mean, all the slime I made up. And I knew about the blob from when I worked in Hollywood. So that's just, you know, one of those things you find out. And then finding out the fungus from The Last of Us was real was kind of frightening. And I've heard of the corpse flower, and I've seen the video of the corpse flower, but I've never seen it live. So if you live in San Francisco, which is where I think it is, where's the corpse? Let's double check before you guys. Where is the corpse flower on display? It's Vancouver. There's one in Vancouver. There's one in San Marino. There's one at the Smithsonian. There's one at the United States Botanical Garden in Washington, D.C. There's one in Roseville. Poway, I think I already said that one, right? Franklin Park Zoo. There's a couple. Okay, so I guess there's a couple places that thought putting this bizarre flower was on display was a good thing. And people line up and pay hundreds of dollars to see this thing for the 3 days a year. And it's freaking huge. So, yeah. If you ever, live near any of those places and want to see this bizarre flower for the 3 days a year, it spawns. Go check it out. And if you live anywhere in Oregon near the Blue Mountains, you can hop, skip, and jump yourself to go check out the world's largest living art organism. And next time you get in a trivia fight, then, what's the biggest animal in the world, or what's the largest living thing in the world, you could win by going, oh, there's a mushroom in Oregon. Anyways, this is currently available for like $3 on the Red Room, my Magnus Opus slime. We've got 2 more coming out this year. I've got cryptids coming out, another one I heavily researched, because every state has a cryptid, at least one cryptid. Well, actually, at least 2 cryptids, because every state has a Bigfoot, and every state has another cryptid. But Bigfoot is freaking everywhere. He has been seen in every state in the United States, which is just sort of weird for one thing. But yeah, we'll get to that when we do cryptids. Then I got demons, and then that's it for the year for the Wretched Beastery, and we'll start 2024 with some more monsters or revisiting the ones I think need to be revisited. And if there's any desire for me doing a collection anthology, you guys let me know. These are available for $2.50 on the Red Room, and every dime you give helps to support Miguel and Sylvia, and more importantly, helps me to feed Steve the cat. So please consider tossing a coin to your slime master, the OG GM, and checking these out. As always, help me hit 2,000 subs. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet, please subscribe. It costs you nothing. It takes literally a second out of your day, and it helps me immensely because if I reach 2,000, I can beat Aaron the Pendentic, which has always been my goal. No, not really. But 2,000 is the number, you know. Once I hit 2,000, I'll be like, that's it. I'm happy. 2,000 isn't a number. Thank you very much for sharing your Saturday with me. We'll be back later on with your normal, really, regularly, blah, 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 blah. Oh, no, the slime's taking advantage of me. Oh, no, the Among Us fungus is eating my brain. Screw you, fungus. I don't have a brain.